Welcome back to House Cleaning 500. I'm going to continue on with cleaning the kitchen cupboards after I just showed you all the chemicals I was going to use. So the first thing I did is I prepped my surface. As I said, I live in Colorado. It tends to be dry, so there was a lot of dust. So I took a vacuum and vacuumed it down with a nice soft head. Just to get any, I have animals, I have 3 dogs, so to get all the pet hair off and some dust off of here. Did it beforehand just to save time, so I just went over it quickly and vacuumed the floor really fast too. The best cleaner you have is hot water. Some chemicals say, or cleaners say not to use water. I don't trust those. I think you start to get a buildup if you don't rinse it down. So I'm going to wipe it down first. You might just try a little bit of dish soap. You'll be amazed at what dish soap will take off first. I don't have any in this water because I want it to be a rinsing water. But first thing I'm doing is wetting down the surface just to loosen up any dirt right away or start the soaking process. I don't know if you can see, this is some tomatoes here, little pieces of seed and just some dirt, a little bit of discoloration here. So I have rinsed that down. First I'm going to use Mr. Foamy. Because it's a foam, you're going to want to shake it a little bit. And it's going to spray on. I'm going to do all 4 that I mentioned earlier. So you can see it's sticking right onto the surface. That's what I like about it. I hit it good. There we go. Next I'm going to try the scrubbing bubbles. Shake this one. This is a pretty full can, so nothing much is going on. Spray it on. Ooh, this one foams even a little bit more. As I said, the reason why I like the foam, you can see it's sitting on the surface, staying there, and penetrating through. 409 trigger spray, a little bit here. But like I mentioned before, you can see it's starting to run. If you happen to have carpeting in your kitchen, you may want to put something underneath there to catch it, an old towel or something. I'm going to put this one on with a sponge. As I said before, I'm trying to cut down on the chemical spell. You get all of these going together, it could be a little harsh. Amazingly enough, it doesn't smell too bad. Actually, the scrubbing bubbles are kind of nice. And fantastic, and 409 haven't been too harsh, so I've kind of got that on there. But as you can see, it's not sticking on there as well because you're putting it on with a sponge. But if you are concerned about your breathing, some of us are a little more sensitive, you want to put it on with a sponge. So now I'm going to go back. I'm going to take just a little bit of this scratcher and gently go over the wood, not harsh. Just a little bit. Give it a little scrub. Just going to go through that one there, both foams. Okay. I'm going to rinse it out just so my chemicals don't mix together. Sometimes you don't want to mix chemicals. I assume everyone knows not to mix ammonia and bleach. That one will definitely kill you. Fast. You just have a chemical reaction. So, I'm going to rinse it down now. Let's see how it turned out. Right. So, to me, it seems like most all of them worked well. But then again, this is not a very dirty surface. If you have a lot of grease, it's going to take a lot more than that. My daughter was just kind enough and washed the whole kitchen down about a month ago for me, so I don't have a really dirty cupboard right now. If you guys really need me to go out and find one, I'll ask around. I have many friends in real estate that have rental properties. I'm sure I can find a really nasty kitchen. The only thing that has happened is with the foam cleaners, I do see that the piece of tomato seed is gone. With the 409 and stuff, that's still some stuff on here. The seed's on there, but it's really wet, so you could just scrape it off with your nail gently. Pretty much looks the same. Only thing that might change this is let's dry it down. See if there's any difference. I can still see a little bit of discoloration in the cupboard here. I set my trash here, so what has happened is the trash, I'm sure, cooking, it has spilled out of the can and left a mark here. I'm going to try just a little bit of Mr. Foamy to see if I can get rid of that mark out of that. The foamy seems to, I don't know why, penetrate into the wood fibers a little better and get stains out a little more. You can let it sit a second. The foam still did drip down on the floor a little bit, but not as much as the other two cleaners. We'll let it sit a second. We may even try our magic eraser a little bit. You want to wet that down before you put it on the surface though. And we're going to try to wash it down a little bit. Seems a little bit better, but probably what has happened just from years. I've lived in this house for 15 years. So from 15 years of the trash can pretty much sitting here, it has just discolored the wood. Sometimes that's just what's going to happen. You can't get it out. It's just going to discolor it and you just have to deal with it. And you could maybe keep spraying it. If you were really upset about it, you could refinish the wood. But I don't think it's that bad. Don't see anything really coming off on the sponge either. In the cracks, if you had a lot of goop in here, you could take your brush, run it down your cracks just to clean them out. Make things look good. I'm going to rinse it one more time. As I said, I think you should always rinse the chemicals off. I find that if you don't rinse the cleaner off, it attracts dirt and grease and dog hair. As I said, I have 3 dogs, so animal hair seems to just attract to those chemicals. Or sometimes what's strange is it'll pull the dirt off of your animal, because sometimes a dog has a little bit of a greasy coat or dirty coat, and he comes in and rubs against it and he gets it all dirty. I'm going to dry it down here. As you can probably tell, especially on this one, the wood is very dry. As I said, it's Colorado. Everything dries out here. You can't keep things moist. Some people put humidifiers in their house. I don't know. I have never found that it works. So I am going to oil this a little bit. One thing is, once you start an oil rag, I would leave it as an oil rag. Don't bother washing it. Just plan on throwing it away when you're done with it. Because you don't want to put an oil rag in with your other rags, because when you're washing it, it'll come out in your good rags, and the next thing you know, you'll be doing a mirror or something and it's left a streak. So for me, I will be filling up with oil a lot. If you're back east and have humidity and stuff, you may not need to put this much oil on. You probably don't want to put this much oil on. But for me, it's going to soak right up into this wood. And you'll be amazed I might not even have to dry it off, because it just soaks right into it. Gives it a little bit of a shine again, rehydrates the wood. See, I'm going back over here, it's already soaked it in. It'll cover up scratches. So if you have a lot of scratches, that's a nice thing about an oil too. Say you just have an old desk or table and it's got a lot of scratches in it. Take you a little bit of Old English. There is also a scratch cover by Old English. This is not it. This is just a lemon oil. And the scratch cover is dark. It's almost kind of a real deep brown to black color. And you put that on and it generally covers up scratches fairly well. Unless it's a huge deep gouge and then it's just damaged furniture and there's not much you can do with it. So that seems to look pretty good. If I wasn't running the video here, I'd let it sit for, I don't know, probably 10-15 minutes before I dried it down. But since we're on video, I'm going to rush things a bit. I'm going to wipe it down. As I said, if you leave this, especially with this oil on here, your dog comes by, this is just loaded with hair. Just pull it right off their body and stick it right on the wall. Wipe that down. So actually it seemed to turn out fairly well. I don't know if you can still see the stain there. It's probably not going to come out. If you wanted to, you might come back with with that scratch cover from Old English I was talking about. Put that on there a little bit, but it could also discolor the wood. So be careful before you put that on. It's so much darker than this lemon oil. It could actually change the stain on your wood. So do a little spot before you cover the whole area, unless you're intentionally trying to make the whole thing darker. We're going to move over to another spot just so I can show you a little bit of work with the toothbrush and working around handles and knobs and maybe grooves in the cupboards. So we'll be back in just a second.